You're listening to Free Mama Radio, where we believe you can have both a successful business and show up as the mom you want to be. I'm your host, Lauren Golden, a mom who built a full-time income working part-time hours. Now, I help other moms like you learn how to work from home on your own terms, take control of your schedule, and make more money so you can live a totally awesome, guilt-free life. I am on a mission to make sure that no mother has to choose between family and financial stability. So if you've been wondering, can I really have it all? This podcast will give you the answers. Hey mamas, welcome back to another episode of Free Mama Radio. I am here with the amazing Sarah Noked. She is the founder of Sarah Noked OBM, an online business management agency where she empowers entrepreneurs and creatives in all stages of business to grow a thriving online business. Sarah works out of her home office in Israel. She's not actually neighbors, but in the same country as my amazing copywriter, Abby Paris, which was fun. She helps entrepreneurs plan and delegate, implement the right systems, unite virtual teams across the globe, and grow profits to achieve their goals. As a certified online business manager trainer, Sarah shares her passion for online business management through training and certification courses to empower and educate VAs and OBMs worldwide. She is not a stranger to the Free Mama community. Sarah, welcome to Free Mama Radio.
Yay, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you for staying up late at night so that we can have you here.
The kids are sleeping, so you know what? I'm happy.
And mine are not. So when you guys hear kids in the background, it's all me and I own it. We talked about that right before we hit record. Well, Sarah, tell us a little bit how you got here. I mean, you are well known as kind of my go-to OBM reference to aspiring online business managers inside the Free Mama community. But what's your background? Tell us a little bit about how you got started. Maybe even life before kids or life before virtual business.
Before kids.
I don't know, but I thought I was busy. And now I'm like, that's a joke. That's just funny.
Funny enough, I don't think you know this about me, Lauren, but I actually had a landscaping company.
I did not know this about you.
I actually went back to school after I completed my undergraduate degree to do horticulture. At any rate, I created this company with my then boyfriend, now husband, and we almost killed each other. And at some point through, a twist of fate and all kinds of things, my husband, or my then boyfriend, now husband being Israeli, we decided, you know what? There's nothing I can do to get this man to live in Canada. He cannot bear the Canadian winters. We're packing up and we're moving to Israel. And that's what we did. So here I'm finding myself in this foreign country where I don't know the language. So what do? I go back to school because that's what we do, right? I was like, well, I'll just learn something. So I went back to school to do an MBA. And then I, like any good person with an MBA, I went to corporate and I started working for a wonderful corporation that just killed my soul, basically. And I was like, how am I ever going to have kids and have this, this life that I imagined for myself if I was working here in Israel 9 to 6? I was like, what? And then I've got a 40-minute commute, so I'm home at 7. And then what? So I started to frantically, which I know the listeners can relate to this, how to legitimately make money working from home.
Yeah, I've tried everything that Google. If Google pulls it up, I've probably enrolled at some point.
And that is how I came across this magnificent certification program that Tina Forsyth and the International Association of Online Business Managers created back in 2011. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go for this because I have all the right skill set. I've got a little bit of the entrepreneurial person inside of me. I can definitely, relate with the clients and, all the things. So I was like, I'm just going to do this. And that's exactly what I did. And I was able to, obviously it wasn't like firecrackers weren't going off in year 1, but in year 2, they started to. And in year 3, I was like, and, slowly but surely, I left corporate, scaled my then solopreneur business to a multi-6-figure agency. And then in 2017, because I was talking to Tina Forsyth and I was like, look, Tina, I love you. I love this program. More women and men and people in this world need to know that this exists because it's just given me this great, amazing business that I can, support my family with and still feel, like I'm not the type of mom that wants to be, I love giving my kids the work from home. Like I had a stay-at-home mom growing up. So I want my kids to have that experience, but I also want to do something that feels feeds my soul and makes me excited when I get up to be doing something that's not just, raising my kids, although I know that's the most important job in the world, but I needed something else for myself. And so in 2017, I became a certified online business manager trainer. And for a while, I sort of straddled the agency and being a trainer. And then about 2019, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to basically train all the employees on my team to become certified online business managers, and I'll just piecemeal it off and they can take their clients and I will just have this amazing training. And that's where I am. And I've just been, now, especially with our world today, I mean, it's been really amazing to be at the helm of, I feel like, this huge movement of people finally waking up and being like, oh my God, working from home is the best thing ever. And I'm like, I've been telling you that for years.
Yeah.
I've been telling you that for years. And like, now I see what you're saying. I was like, I know.
Yes. And there's that on the one side, the excitement, right? Of like, I really think that businesses and corporations, they're going to have to change. It will not ever go back to quote unquote normal, I don't believe. On the other side of that, there's like just very upsetting and startling statistics about the rate with which mothers have been leaving the workforce because they've been forced out. And we probably don't have enough time to dive into all of my feelings today. But one of the things I love about you and what you just shared is we have such a similar belief system. I also grew up with a stay-at-home mom that really crafted the way that I view motherhood and what I thought made a good mother. And, I had to reconcile this idea of being a working mom early when Daphne was born and I didn't have the option to stay home. But I now believe the same thing where I want to be able to choose when I can lean in, when I can lean into my business and still have something that's my own. And I love that harmony and coexistence in my own life. It is not always easy. And I'm sure that you can relate as well. But I do really feel like I get to take advantage of the best of both worlds. And I don't feel like I'm settling. And I know, again, that we share kind of this mission. So in your story, let's back up again one more time. You found this OBM world, you did this certification, you were working, but you were still at your 9-to-5 job. I don't know if you can go back to that in your brain, but that is where so many free mamas are at, or at least where they begin.
And it's 2 years. Yeah. 2 years.
Can you kind of talk, like, what did you learn? What were some of your hardships? What were, what would be advice that you would give to anybody who's there right now and they just don't see the light at the end of the tunnel at this moment? Because I remember they're exhausted.
I know. I'm starting to have like
post-traumatic. Yeah, PTSD.
I know. I'm like, oh yeah.
Okay, what's your advice to those people?
Like, I would say, stay the course. That it will pay off in the end. The hard work will pay off. Okay. Then the second thing that I would say to is find a community like the Free Mama community where you can actually find people who, because this is the other thing, like I would ask my husband for advice, or I'd ask like my best friend for advice, or like a colleague. And they were like, what? Online? You're doing what? Are you insane? So I think it's important to surround yourself with the right community that actually fully 100% can provide a valuable suggestion or advice. So, the right community, staying the course, and, just being really focused on your why, and making sure that you're like, so my why was like legit, happy wife, happy life. Like legit, if I am not happy, I'm not going to be able to live in Israel. I'm going to get divorced because I'm going to go home. I'm never going to be able to get on a flight to fly to Canada to see my family at a drop of a hat, which I can't do now, but is like one of the things that is a huge thing for me. So when you're really like, literally, if you have to at your corporate job, put on a sticky note your why, and it's like, does it have to do with a financial thing? Is it a freedom thing? Is it a meaning thing? Like, what are the components of your why? It might be a little bit of each of those. Obviously financial is a part of it, but you have to really, like, for me, it was literally my unborn children. How crazy is that? Like, I was like, the feeling and the guilt, I will say too, because that's the other thing I am, is guilt ridden. I was like, if I can't be providing my kids, if I'm not home at 4:00 when they come home from school, or, if I can't put dinner on the table or whatever, because I have this crazy high intense, like I was traveling all the time for my corporate job. Like I was like, it was a great job, but I was like, this is not the lifestyle. Like for me, it was a lifestyle thing. Like I don't want to ask anybody for time off. I want to be able to make my own time off and decide when I have my holidays and however however long that might be. And being, I'm not a workaholic. Okay, I am. Like my husband will say, oh my God, if he was here, he'd be like, she's a workaholic. But I mean, I'm driven and I am. Yeah. I mean, if I'm motivated enough and I'm clear on my why, I can do anything. So I would say just stay the course, get clear on your why. It has to be stronger than your why not. And asking the right community for advice is huge. If I listen to all, not the haters, if I listen to all the haters now, if I listen to all the people who loved me that were giving me advice from a place of love and fear, which is like how we speak to ourselves, I would not believe in this. And I don't know where I would be right now, but I wouldn't be happy. I can be sure about that. And I probably wouldn't, well, maybe I'd be working from home now because everybody's working from home, but I've been working from home for the last decade, for the last decade and more. So
I love that. I don't know if that is like some cliche quote that I've just never heard before, or if you just made that up, but I've never heard that your why has to be stronger than your why not.
Oh, that's like a Tina Forsyth original,
Okay.
Give her credit on that one.
That is good.
Yeah. Your why has to be stronger than your why not. Yeah. And if I'm not clear about my why, and sometimes it takes a little bit of like, because some people will be like, well, I need to make more money. And the one thing that I can say for sure is it's never financial is not enough to help you stay the course.
No, because you could always go get a job. No.
Right. Yep. Exactly. You can always go get a job.
So you talked about part of your why being for your unborn children. So
Yes.
You were at your corporate. Did you leave corporate before you made babies?
I was pregnant. So when I became a certified OBM, I was through the process, I was pregnant. So, and I was also, starting to dabble with the clients and starting to get, the mat leave stuff and bringing on team members. Like I was really gung ho because I was totally working on adrenaline. And I was like, this has to work for me. And I'm like naturally a very resourceful person, which I feel like is an inherent skill that we have as moms.
Yes.
Even though I was, I did have a little baby growing inside of me. Yes.
And how do you think that becoming a mom impacted your journey? Or, how did things change in your OBM business after having children?
Systems, a lot of systems. I was like, I used to really get off on the fact that I was this banging solopreneur. I was like, I'm a solopreneur making six figures. I'm amazing. I've matched my corporate salary and, all these things. But the truth was, even though I always had occasional VAs come in and support me, I still really viewed myself as the go-to, holds all the information. How amazing am I? But when I had Ella, my daughter, I quickly was like, how wrong was I about that? What I actually need is the right systems and the right automation and the right people doing the right things in my business so that I can actually give my children the experience that I have been dreaming and hoping and planning for. I'm like, now that this is all in place, now I don't want to be that, workaholic mom who now has not crafted her business in a way where I have. And it's nice to be able to say crafted my business in a way, because I feel like there is so much autonomy in this particular type of business model, this freelance business model type.
I love it. So what are some of your systems that you use at home? Do you bring your systems into your personal life?
I try, but I get a lot of pushback from my team of children and husband. But yeah, I outsource when I can. I know that this isn't, don't hate me, but yeah, I outsource the cleaning of my house and I will order food at least once a week, and if I could bring on, at this point in my business, if I could bring on somebody to cook in my house once a week, I would. I just don't have anybody in my neighborhood that will do it, basically.
Well, I feel like we're on the same wavelength at this point. I always say the best way to have it all is to not try to do it all. And I joke that I'm the hardest working lazy person you'll ever meet. If I can find someone else to do it, I will. And I don't know if you were always like that, but for me personally, that was a really big mindset transformation that I've had over the last 3 or 4 years. I've really changed as a person since launching this evolution of my business. Have you experienced anything like that through entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I would say definitely. I mean, I think I've always been, and part of like the OBM certification program is like, looking at your skill sets and looking at the things that you are, your strengths and your weaknesses. And I was like, I'm great at everything. But realistically, when I did the Colby A, I was like, wow, I'm damn high on the quick start. That's no shocker. But I'm also really low on the follow through. So I'm like, oh, it sort of got me thinking about, well, what's that team needs? The team needs to complement me. And, the systems that I bring into my, like, for example, even like systems around my calendar, like that was the time blocking and, systematizing when I have my meetings and when I'm, doing my creative work and, just the sort of natural flow of being a woman too. Right. And, when I'm on and when I'm off throughout the month, if you want to go through the flow, that sort of flow that people talk about.
Oh, we've been talking about this all fall in the Free Mama community.
Really? Okay. Because I was like, should I go there?
No, you can go there. I actually am really thrilled to hear that this is something that you tap into. So this has been kind of my big uncovering of 2020. And I know this year has been really, really hard for a lot of people, and I don't want to minimize that whatsoever. I've actually had a really beautiful year. We've had a lot of really beautiful, I've found so many silver linings, and through the hardship, having kids at home, like stuff's been hard. I never thought I would be a homeschooling parent or any of these things, but just through the lack, I think, of the noise of being out of our house and having these busy schedules, like I really tapped into my body at the beginning of this year, and I started to notice these patterns. And, of course, logically, I know I've had a period every month since I was, 13 or whatever, but I never put any thought into it other than just make sure you're prepared for that, with the stuff. Right. And so I got a new mentor this year. Have you ever read the book Do Less?
Oh, no, but Kate Northrup was a client, an OBM.
Oh, that's awesome. I love it.
She was one of my first OBM clients a decade ago. So
that is awesome.
I love all things Kate Northrup. I love her community, but I was actually reading a book called In the Flow, FLO. So
okay, got it. That is also, going on the list.
There's a lot of this. It's also a really great one. There's also an Audible or audiobook. But yeah, I think it's sort of just being very present about when I'm creating things or when I'm giving myself time to be restful and relaxing and not feeling oh my God, I need to do all the things. Cause that's sort of, I think both of us can agree that it's our go-to. Go-to. Yeah. Yes. That's the normal. It's go, adrenaline and more coffee and more whatever. But really listening to my body and slowing down and really also literally putting it in my calendar and coordinating my life around, my cycle. So yes.
Okay, we're going to get on Voxer after this and continue the conversation. Maybe I'll record it and we'll do a part 2 of this episode because this was such a new discovery for me this year. Honestly, I'd never even considered it. And so I've done such a deep dive. Like I said, I've gotten a mentor. We've talked about it in our Free Mama Squad and in our book club. And I'm really tremendously, something you may not know about me. Not that I had a landscaping company, but I celebrate my half birthday. Did you know this about me?
Oh, do you always celebrate your half birthday?
I like to be acknowledged on my half birthday. It's a thing. Everyone's judging me right now. Funny. It's so funny. It is funny. It's sad. It's sad. We can all acknowledge it's sad.
But it's not sad. You should always be celebrating yourself.
My team sent me a gift because they know this about me. And so I think they were trying to be nice, but also
we're all going to get fired unless we send Lauren the gift.
Also slightly condescending. But anyway, they sent me this gift and it's the phases of the moon. And so I don't know if you've tapped into it. And so it's these moons to hang on my wall. They're down on the floor right now. Anyway, so I'm super into this. So we'll continue this conversation. I am just absolutely thrilled to hear though that it's something you tap into. And we talked about this during my live event back in October as well, that you spoke at Free Mama Live. We talked about this same idea of there's cycles and just there's seasons right now here, it's cold and moist and just all, and darker in our winter here in the Northern Hemisphere. And that's seasonal. And then we're going to have this rebirth and this growth and then this warmth and these and it's our bodies are doing the same thing. And I don't know, again, for me, this was this tremendous revelation. So
it is amazing. It is an amazing thing. Yeah.
I love that you're tapping into it. Well, okay. So you mentioned how this played a role. First of all, also starstruck, Kate Northrup. That's awesome. So she worked.
Awesome, yeah.
Yes.
And for the record, I did work mostly with her husband, Mike. So I will say that I did not have much interaction with Kate because he was like a good hubby would be. He was keeping her in her zone of genius. And
I love it. I absolutely love it. Well, break it down for us. I know we're like already 30 minutes into this interview. And for anybody who's like,
we're just getting to the tip of the iceberg.
Sarah's fascinating. She keeps mentioning this OBM certification. What is an OBM for people? Like, let's 101 it before we talk about all these cool things that you have coming up. What is an OBM?
So an OBM, in short, makes sure that the right things get done at the right time with the right people, all of that stuff. So we're really, in some ways, I would lovingly call it like a buffer, or sometimes we're referred to as like integrators. So we're the buffer between the client and the rest of the team in a very traditional sense. So, sometimes it's like from one end, it's like sometimes protecting the team from the client, sometimes protecting the client from the team questions, and being that sort of leader manager role in the business. So things like project management, team management, metrics management, launch management, operations management. We are more in the big picture rather than sort of there is obviously a level of implement. Sometimes we say like the OBM comes in where strategy meets implementation, if that makes sense. So you've got like that little arrow, here's strategy, here's implementation, here's where the OBM fits in. And of course, we are the ones who are primarily the keepers of the big picture or the client's vision. So one of the things is about, I sometimes look at OBMs as partnering with their clients, whereas, sometimes another freelancer role on the team might just come in and, do the things that they're doing, in their zone of genius. Maybe they're a copywriter, maybe they're a VA, maybe they're, I don't know, there's tons of different roles, but, you're coming in to do like a specific project or a specific sort of task for the client, where the OBM is more sort of invested or vested in, the bigger picture, and, making sure that the team, like checking on what the team is doing and making sure that they have the leadership that they need to get the right things done for the client. And of course, the client can then go off and where does the ROI come in for the client? They can then go off and, write the book or create the course, or, really kind of focus on working on the business instead of in the business. And that's pretty much where this all sort of stems from.
I love it. I love it. So something that I ask everybody who comes on Free Mama Radio is within their zone of genius. And I always ask for 3 practical tips, because I'm all about action. I think it's great to listen to people. I think consuming content that is in alignment with your goals is really productive and inspirational. But at the end of the day, without any sort of implementation, learning for the sake of learning is not actually probably it's fluff. Yeah. It's not going to get you any closer to your goals. So can you give us 3 practical tips for anybody who maybe they're listening and they're just getting started? Maybe they're currently working as a VA or some other type of freelance work, and they're interested and they're like, oh, I want to be a partner. Oh, I like this like strategic thinking idea and like managing team. Oh, I did that in my corporate job or whatever. And they're interested. What are 3 things that they should either do or be thinking about to kind of graduate to this OBM level?
Yeah, I think, I love this question, because it's usually about, it's not you, it's them sort of scenario. Because I really truly believe that it sort of has to start from finding the right clients. So, you can OBM to the cows come home, but if you're working with not the right client, there's going to be a lot of things you're going to experience: frustration, not enough time to do what you want to do to get the right things moving, not getting the right results. So, there's 3 distinct things that an OBM client has. They have a proven business model. Okay, this is the most important thing. A startup is not an OBM client. Can an OBM work with a startup? Yes, but it's not an ideal client. So the client has to have a proven business model, revenue that recurs consistently, and not like a fly by night. Wow, we made 100K and now it's like crickets. It has to be consistent. The client needs to have revenue. That's the second thing. So there has to be that consistent revenue coming in. So the business model, but also consistent revenue, and at least 6 figures. Okay. So there's like a minimum that, because truly an OBM, like how when you were going into a corporate job or any job, there's like a good 6-month learning curve. The client needs to be putting 6 months in with that OBM in order to get the return on investment. So making sure that there's enough time. And then the other big piece is that the client has to be in a mindset that they are ready to delegate, because it doesn't matter that the client's making because I actually encounter this a lot, 7-figure client or multi-6-figure client, still in the weeds, doing the things in their business, still really sure that only they can do the things right in their business. Like there's a lot of that. That's not the kind of client that's going to be responsive to working with someone at the OBM level. Like, so there's a lot of leadership that goes into the OBM role, leading yourself, leading the client, leading the business. It's a huge part of what is to be an OBM. So I'd say like those 3 qualities are what you need that client to have. So as an OBM, you want to be looking for the right clients, but you also want to be very acute to your mindset. I find that, for better or for worse, we come with our own mindset issues as people
all of
in
us.
This world. All of us have our own hangups, and no one is perfect. But I think that there are a few things that from that mindset perspective, because the one thing that I will stress here is that one of the things I will tell my students and anyone who will listen is that you have to really approach being an OBM very differently than you approach being a service-based support provider. As a VA or as a freelance writer or as I don't know what, you're coming to the client and you're saying, hey, dear client, how can I help you? How can I help you? But as an OBM, there's a mindset shift, because when you're saying to that client, how can I help you? You are, in fact, putting
the
more
burden
on
on
that
them.
client's plate instead of taking things off of their plate. And so this is like a huge, it's like just like one of those sort of like, again, maybe another Post-it that you put on your computer, but instead of saying, it's like a language change and a mindset shift. So instead of saying, how can I help you? It's like, here's how I want to help you do your goal, and here's what that's going to look like, dear client, instead of it being like a whole now, or even, you might say to them, here's how I want to help you. Here are your options. You've got 800 options. That's also putting work on their plate. So it's about that's why it's so important for an OBM to be invested in the sense of, I know the client's goals. I know their vision. I know where we're going. I can make executive or, really clear decisions on behalf of the client for what they need, whether it be picking a certain software or deciding on a launch strategy that I'm working out with their, coach or whatever, right? So it's about how you use the language. So, here's what we're going to do. Are you okay with X? Not are you okay with X, Y, Z, and, all this other stuff. Are you good with X? Okay. Or are you good with X or Y? So you want to give them like limited choices, right?
I love this. And here's the deal, like just coming from the freelance coach world, this is good advice for all of you. It becomes critical at the OBM level, but like all of you should be listening to this. And I do actually teach a lot of these things inside the Free Mama movement, like being resourceful and being helpful. Like, are you actually helping? Because just standing back and being like, hey, I'm available, that's not super helpful. You have to be proactive about solving people's problems.
It's so true. Like I get, sometimes I'll have an OBM and she's like, well, I've got this 20-hour retainer, but I hardly ever get to 10 hours. And like, this is a functioning business, there's no reason why you can't be maxing out your retainer. There are always things to do. I'm like, you're just not finding enough things, like valuable things for yourself to do. So maybe you're not clear around the goals, or maybe the client's not bringing you in. Maybe they don't because, trust is a thing, right? Trust is a big thing. So, but yeah, absolutely. But also with the client, those are just high level clients or high caliber clients. That's all.
But even then you want that. Well, proven business model is good, but even at the freelancer level, for somebody looking to outsource to a social media manager or VA, there are ways to ask about somebody's revenue coming in their business without even saying, how much revenue do you have coming in your business? But a big challenge that I see a lot that maybe you see slightly less in the OBM world, because again, there's some assumptions made about how much they're earning. People are constantly wanting to outsource that have no business outsourcing. They're trying to get a website made for $150 or social media. And it's offensive. It really is. But
I cannot, Lauren, honestly, I used to have people calling me and, because we have great SEO for online business manager. So I get all the kinds of questions. Like I would get people calling me like, hey, I've got this idea. Can you build my business for me? And I was like, if it was that easy, you would be out of the equation, sweetheart. You know what I mean? We know you. Building a business is blood, sweat, and tears. And that's why back to like those women and moms sitting at their desk in corporate, stay the course. Whatever, you need to do to reward yourself when you reach, and keep a journal, keep track of your goals. It's so important.
Oh, I love it so much. Well, you have some really awesome resources coming up, actually starting today, the day that this episode comes out. So it's OBM week. Tell me what OBM week is.
OBM week. OBM week is something that we run a couple times a year, and it's a very, very special Monday to Thursday event where I hop on and I will give a little bit of a training around sort of the things we're talking about today, like what it means to be an OBM, what kinds of skill sets do you need to be an OBM, what is an OBM, what is a certified OBM, and what that looks like. All these good little niblets we're going to be diving in over this 4-day event. There's going to be giveaways. There's going to be guests coming in for our last call. I won't tell you who yet.
Surprise!
But we just got surprise.
Is it Kate Northrup? No, I'm just kidding.
No, although I would love it to be her.
I'll be there.
I know, right? Kate's awesome. It's just going to be a lot of amazingness all kind of packed in. And, the intention is really, because I feel like it's this is a great time of the year to start fresh, turn a new leaf, right? For a lot of us. So, and then for some, it might be about changing things up and maybe stepping into OBM shoes, right?
I love
that's
it.
Kind of why we're doing this.
Very fun. And you guys, in case you can't tell, Sarah knows her stuff. Like I said, she's not a stranger to the Free Mama community. She was a speaker, did one of our Skills Lab breakout sessions at Free Mama Live. So I definitely trust her. And we've had several Free Mamas go through your certification as well. So if you guys are interested in joining her for OBM week, you guys can find that information at obm.thefreemama.com. As always, we'll put our show notes, ways for you to connect with Sarah on social media. I know she's got a Facebook group and a website as well. So we'll put all of that inside our show notes, and you can go to freemamaradio.com to check all of that out. I have one last question for you. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. The mission of the Free Mama is to make sure that no mother has to choose between family and financial stability. So knowing that and kind of the place where all of these listeners are today, is there one last piece of advice that you would like to give to them? Maybe something that you weren't able to touch on already?
Yeah. I mean, this is going to maybe sound a little bit cheesy, but be kind to yourself and reward yourself when you reach goals. There are so many times where I see women really putting everything they have into something and then finally getting their first client, or finally getting that first sale, or having that first, amazing thing happen. And they're not giving it to themselves, or they're not celebrating it. So you absolutely don't have to choose. We have it all, right, Lauren? I don't think we're anomalies. I feel like we are the future of women who are saying, I don't want to choose that way of working because I can have more flexibility with my life doing this. So you can do it. You've got this. And then the other thing I will add in is because there's 100 little tidbits in here, but I'm doing this from Israel, so that's always what I say to people. I'm like, if I can make money doing this from Israel, working with clients in Australia, America, US, Canada, Canadians and Americans and Europeans, and then anybody anywhere in the world listening to this, you can do this. If I can do this, you can do this. Really.
Oh my gosh. I love that so much. Sarah, thank you so much for being here today.
For having me on.
You guys, with that last piece of advice, here's your call to action, your CTA for today. Go to Instagram, take a screenshot of you listening to this podcast, tag me and Sarah, and use the hashtag FreeMamaWin and celebrate yourself. Like Sarah just said, tell us something you have done awesome in your business. And as always, I promise to reshare it on my stories as well. And I'm sure Sarah wouldn't mind giving you guys a shout out as well. Yeah. All right, Sarah. Thank you so much, you guys. We'll see you next week.
Lauren.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Free Mama Radio. Don't forget to check out Free Mama TV right here on YouTube for hundreds of how-to videos and interviews to help you start, grow, and scale a virtual business from home. If you want to join a community of tens of thousands of moms just like you, make sure you join the Free Mama Movement group over on Facebook. And lastly, if you want to learn more about how we can do this together, work to achieve your goals, and make you our next success story, check out my free training at thefreemamamovement.com. I'll see you next time.